中文有4个声调，你不知道吗？ Yeah, we know, don't we? We know that Chinese has got 4 tones, and we're all working really hard to try to crack those tones. Now, of course, though, not always so easy to get it right, is it? You certainly don't have this type of tones in the English language. So what can help us? Well, of course, first of all, we learn the 4 tones, don't we? So we learn our first, second, third, and fourth tones, and maybe we can run through them quite quickly. So we learn ma, 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 like that. However, the problem is in the Chinese language, most words are not single characters. Most words are 2 characters put together, or 2 syllables. So what happens is you have to run tones together. And so to be able to sound natural in the Chinese language, something that I've personally found very useful is to learn tone pairs. So what do I mean by that? Well, you pick a word that you're familiar with, and then you learn the sound of those 2 tones together. Now, if you can do this with 16, well, actually 15 words, then you can learn all of the tone combinations for the Chinese language, for 2 character words, that is. You get your 2 first tones together, you got first and second tone together, you got first and third tone together, first and fourth tone together, and so on. Now we say 15 and not 16 because obviously when you have 2 third tones together, then the first third tone becomes a second tone. So for example, you take a word like 表明. Let's say you're struggling with your third, second tone, 表明, which means to indicate or to make clear. Now, if you can practice that word over and over again, listening to correct pronunciation, perhaps on a recording somehow, then you can get that sound structure in your head. Now, you don't have to be particularly musical to do this. I'm not very musical, but I know this can really help you. So if you learn 表明 and you learn that sound da, then if you come across a third, second tone in the future, you think, and you're not sure how to pronounce it, well, actually this 表明 is now your benchmark. So you go back and you think, well, how do I pronounce that? You say 表明, so it's da, and then you can apply that to your new word. So I've got 15 tone combinations for you that you could use. You could, of course, substitute these with any word that you're familiar with, but I've picked 15 fairly basic words that cover the 15 different tone combinations in Mandarin. Hi, I'm Carl from Cracking Chinese. I've learned a few things about the Chinese language over the years that I like sharing with other people. And let's face it, if I can learn Chinese, then you can too. Anybody can learn Chinese. So let's get cracking. So I thought we could split these tone combinations or tone pairs into 4 categories. So let's go through all the tone combinations that start with the first tone. First, first second, first third, first fourth, and so on. So for first, we've got 今天, 今天 meaning today. 今天, 今天, so try to get that sound in your head. 今天. Second one is first, second tone. 中文, 中文, so that means Chinese or the Chinese language. 中文, 中文, 中文. First, second. First tone, third tone. Let's use Hong Kong. So 香港, 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 香港. Say it fast as well. And then first, fourth, we've got 声调. We had to put that one in there, didn't we? Because it means tone. So 声调, 声调, 声调. So there you've got all your tone combinations that start with the first tone. So for our second group of tone combinations or tone pairs, let's go through all the words that begin with second tones. We've got second first, second second, second third, and second fourth. So for second first tone, I've chosen 国家, 国家, which means country. So we get that sound in our head, 国家, 国家. For second second, 学习, 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 which means to study. For second third, we have 结果, 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 which means result. And then for second fourth, 然后, 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 which means afterwards or and then. So those are our second group of tone pairs. So for our third group, you guessed it, they all start with the third tone. So we're going to do third first, third second, third third, and third fourth. So for third first tone combination, I've chosen another place name, Beijing. So it's Beijing, Beijing, Beijing. For our third second, we already did it at the beginning in the introduction, and that was Biaoming. Biaoming, that was that da sound for our third second tone. Third is easy because third turns into a second third. The first third tone turns into a second tone. So you can just use the one that we used from the previous group for that, which was 结果, and then whether it's two third tones or a second third tone, the sound structure of that will still be the same. And then for our third fourth tone, we've got 里面, which means inside, 里面. So that's our third group of tone combinations. So for our fourth group of tone combinations, we've got all the tone combinations that begin with the fourth tone. So for first tone, we've got 汽车, which means car, 汽车. For fourth second, we've got 后来, which means later on, 后来. For fourth third tone, we've got 父母, which means parents, 父母. And for fourth, we've got 抱歉, which means to be sorry about something. So 抱歉. So that is our 15, 16, depending how you look at it, tone combinations that you can try and memorize as benchmarks in case you get stuck on a tone pair in the future. And of course, these are just what I've selected. You choose whatever you feel most comfortable with and what you can remember most easily. So well done, guys. You've made it through our 16 or 15 tone combinations. And hopefully that's useful for you to try to get to grips with the way that two tones run together in a word, because they're not tones in isolation. One runs in to the next, and by learning those benchmarks or whatever words you're most familiar with, then when you come across a tone combination in the future that you might get a little bit stuck with, you can remember the benchmark that you've learned. So what we didn't mention was the neutral tone, just to throw a spanner in the works. So the neutral tone can sometimes crop up in tone combinations. An example is if it's two fourth tones together, sometimes the second fourth tone changes to a neutral tone. So for example, the word to tell is 告诉. Now 诉on its own often has a fourth tone, but when it's put with 告, it becomes neutral. So instead of 告诉, it's just 告诉. So that's something else to remember. So maybe we can say there really are at least 16 tone combinations or tone pairs that you need to learn. So what did you think of today's lesson? Do you think this is useful in trying to crack those tone combinations in Mandarin and sound a little bit more natural, a little bit more fluid? Have you got any better ways of learning tone combinations and the Mandarin tones? Well, either way, please leave your comments down below. It'd be great if you could hit the bell button, if you could subscribe, and if you could like this video. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next time.